I can pretty much divide friends of my age into two groups, the ones that wear Skechers and the ones that don't. Controversial, yep, but this is YouTube and I need a hook, so let me explain. There's a saying, you're over the hill at 40. Now, it seems my friends that have arrived at that collection of years on the planet have interpreted that in two entirely different ways. Some have gone, right, I'm getting old now, it's time to accept fate, I'll drink my way to the end, and it's my right to be a miserable old git now. It's all downhill from here. Others take a different view. Perhaps it's the cyclist in me that hears over the hill without the negative connotations it's meant to have, but as an indication that the hard climbing's done and now it's time to enjoy freewheeling, sweeping corners, the wind in our hair, and to enjoy the amazing views. Confucius apparently said that we have two lives and that the second one begins when we realise that we only actually have one. I genuinely and acutely love this. There is no single better definition of the last 4 years of my life than this. In fact, Warren Buffett of all people expands on this. I'm paraphrasing here, but he says that you should think about life as if you get one car for your whole life. You can either drive it into the ground, not look after it, maintain it, and it'll end up wrecked and on the scrap heap well before time. Or you can look after it, you can maintain it, and it will last you a lifetime. You'll be herring around at top speed, having a laugh far long after the others have met the crusher. Now, I consider myself to be in the slightly odd position of basically being a barn find, where I've wrecked a car, but I've also woken up. I've realised I've only got one life, and so my second one has begun. I've slowly and consistently rebuilt the engine, re-welded the chassis, cut out the rust, resprayed the paintwork, but I've done it solidly and not just patched it up. It takes time, attention and care, and I'm loving this restoration project. Now then, Alan Partridge is 64 years old at the time this video is being made, and apologies to any of you not from the UK who don't know who I'm talking about, but there was a clip from some outtakes of this time that made me sit up. Steve Coogan is an observational genius. Just watch this.
So tell us more about... Sorry, I want to see that effort sound. But this is not a discussion for now. I'm opening a new cafe at Scotney Castle on Saturday. Get it off your chest there. It's National Trust. You'll be among friends.
Now, this is...
Effort, sound. From here on in, you'll all notice when you do it and when others do it, and to me it's a red flag for people of our age as to their approach to their years. And don't get me wrong, every now and then I catch myself doing it. Our approach to aging, how we perceive it, is the start of the loop. William James, known as the father of American psychology due to his work in making it an academic and teachable topic, he asked the question of whether actions follow feelings or vice versa. Do we smile because we're happy, or are we happy because we smile? Our perception of things can seemingly easily be reframed by our actions. Fritz Stack's famous pencil test is a prime example. People were shown cartoons whilst either holding a pencil between their teeth or between their lips. Those that held the pencil between their teeth found the cartoons funnier. Why? Well, it's believed that because holding a pencil like this uses the same muscles as smiling, whereas holding it like this uses the same muscles as frowning. Now, sure, there have been replication issues over the years, but oddly, faith has been restored in this research. When you remove the video cameras from the experiment, because people are seemingly more self-conscious than we think and skew the results, and perhaps that's a different video for another time. The current thinking is that our actions can influence our feelings just as much as the other way around, and it was something that four-time Ironman world champion Chrissy Wellington knew. Her social media handle is Chrissy Smiles, and whilst the others were chewing their bike stems off, Wellington could often be seen with a grin above her chin strap. So, how can this help us live better for longer? Well, contentment with aging means you're content aging. Research backs this up. A study published in 2022 looked at the differences in aging satisfaction over 4 years among 14,000 adults over 50. The researchers found that the people with the highest satisfaction with aging had a 43% lower risk of dying from any cause over the 4 years than those that were least satisfied. Yale has a long-term research program of over 1,000 people, all aged over 63. One of these studies by Becca, Levy asked participants to rate their agreement with statements such as you get older, you're less useful. Respondents with a more positive outlook on getting older lived on average 22.6 years after the study commenced. Those with a more negative view survived just 15 years. And they were probably more miserable for that whole time too. And that last bit is a wild assumption on my part, of course. And they wore Skechers. And I made that bit up too. Probably the most famous study into thinking yourself younger was by Harvard psychologist Ellen Langer in 1979. Participants aged 70 to 80 were broad-range medically cognitively tested before being sent to a monastery that had been converted completely back to 1959. Decor, magazines, music, food, you name it. Participants were told to write biographies of themselves from that year in the present tense and to act as independently as possible, carrying their own bags, cooking their own food. After a week, 64% of participants showed cognitive, vision and flexibility improvements and a reduction in inflammation. Okay, so all studies have flaws and a lot have replication issues, but I will say this, nothing that I found, even the ones that refute or question the outcomes, show contradictory evidence. What I mean to say is that nowhere have I found that taking a positive view on your age has a negative impact. So the short answer is to buy a monastery, spend the rest of your days pretending it's 1991, right? I mean, I could get used to pretending that 10, Nevermind, the Black Album, Woodface and Blood Sugar Sex Magic have just come out, but let's be honest, it's not possible. So what can we do? Well, here is my suggestion. Do you remember this quote from Shiheng Yi from a few videos back? Watch your thoughts, because thoughts are forming your words. Be careful about your words, as your words shape your actions. Take care of your actions, as actions shape your habits. Be careful what habits you have, as they are shaping your character. And be careful of cultivating your character, as your character becomes your destiny. Well, let's think about it in the context of using old and negative thoughts. Negative thoughts on aging become negative words. I'm too old for this. Things that get harder as you get older. I'm not as strong, fast and agile as I used to be. Things aren't like they were. My eyesight is getting worse. These words shape your actions. Alan Partridge effort sounds, restricting movements, not taking the stairs, wearing Skechers in your 40, listening to Katie Melua records. You know, sorry. And those actions shape your habits. They become defaults. You habitually act older. You don't notice it perhaps, but those behaviours reinforce your feelings. And those negative age habits become your character. You literally become old, decrepit, restricted, slow and probably miserable because you can't find Skechers in that lovely shade of beige that you really like. And that old character becomes your destiny. But the inverse is also true. So if you think active and fast and up to date, take care to be current without trying to be too hip. You need to avoid that along with using the word hip. You need to find a better word than hip. You know, a hip replacement. And remember that the world is an echo chamber. Be careful who you hang out with, where you hang out and what you curate on your socials. The more interested I've become in remarkable people that are in their 40s and 50s, the more my social feeds are full of them. Sure, some of them are full of TRT, but that's their lookout and you can usually tell. Like I said about the car, you can patch it up or you can do it properly. But there are some wildly inspiring people out there. Wouldn't you rather see a 65-year-old woman doing pull-ups in a pair of jeans than a post from a miserable beige shoe wearer that makes Alan Partridge seem like Benjamin Button? The mind is beyond comprehension when it comes to power, and you have control over it. It doesn't take much to start making changes. So start small, use positive language, and if you catch yourself saying something ageist about yourself, consciously do something to counter it. If you find yourself waiting for a lift, call yourself out and take the stairs. And find someone on your socials that you aspire to be like and follow them. Take the time to comment and you'll find, slowly, your environment, your mind state, your social group changes. So does the way you feel. You know what they say, you are what you repeatedly do. You've got this, I've got your back, and I want to know in the comments your thoughts on this. I want to know your observations and suggestions for little things that you can do, say or be. And finally, please, if you know where I can get discount Skechers, leave me a link in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. So starts